Thank you for reminding us what a beautiful place we live in. Sometimes it's easy to forget that when we focus on the destruction that happened following the various storms and things. So I hope you enjoyed it like I did. Carol Hibbs has agreed to lead the prayer and pledge.
If you would bow your heads, please. Thank you, Father, for the gift of Rotary and fellow Rotarians. Bless this food as we nourish our bodies and our minds. May we be ever mindful of those in need. Help us to provide food to the hungry, to heal the wounds of hatred with our love, and to comfort those in sorrow, and to bring peace to those living in unrest. As we live out service above self, we thank you for all of our gifts. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any guests today? Yes, I know we have at least one guest. Larry, you want to introduce your guest?
Thank you, Madam President. I brought my wife today because I forgot that I hadn't cooked food for tonight. So I brought, actually that's not the truth. Both she and I appreciate the people that take care of us in our community and throughout the state of Iowa and stuff. And so she looked forward to coming today. So we're glad you're here.
Welcome, Margie. Excuse me. We have Nancy Pins, who is the nurse at, I believe she's at Woodbury School, if that's right. School nurse, who's joining us today to talk about a need for some boots in the school district. And we've been working with Nancy with our Warm Coats Committee. And we'll tell you a little bit about how Rotary is going to work to meet that need. But Nancy has agreed to join us to tell us a little bit more about their needs. So hopefully she's there.
Good morning, Mary. Hi. Yes, I'm Nancy Pence, and I am the school nurse over at Woodbury. I have been in this role now for 2 years. I followed Ellie Mack, who had that job for about 10 years or more, I believe. So big shoes to fill there. But we, as the district nurses here, we're really, really thankful to the Rotary Club for coming to our assistance here with this need for snow boots for kids. I know last year in my building, I probably had, I think probably 10 to 12 students here that I was able to supply snow boots for through donations that we had from the community and some that we had money donated to our school. So we used it for that purpose here. So we are really thankful for you guys. We're starting out small. Each of the 6 elementaries is going to receive 4 pairs of snow boots. I talked to the other nurses and had them identify, which sizes they wanted, if they wanted boys or girls. And then I called around to the local shoe stores. Brown Shoes uptown no longer sells winter boots, so that wasn't an option for us really. But Shoe Sensation out by the mall and Tyson's also sell kids winter boots here that are really good quality. So offering us a discount. So we're going to be able to get pairs of boots for roughly around $25 each, I believe. And we're planning to get 24 pairs of boots. So we really thank you guys for helping out with this. It is kind of a new need too, because the Shoes That Fit program has been in our community for a really long time, to the point that it grew so much, the local MediaCom office wasn't able to continue to do it with just their personnel. So they turned it back over to the national office last year. And the national office made the choice to kind of narrow their focus. And they last year only supplied shoes to 2 different elementaries in town. We haven't heard anything this year if we're going to be having anything supplied. So the boots are really going to be coming in handy in a really big way. So thank you again, Rotary. We really do appreciate this an awful lot. So.
And thank you for joining us, Nancy. Before she leaves, does anyone have any questions for Nancy? As she explained it to us, With the current situation, students are not allowed to use the equipment on the playground. So they really need boots to just get outside and be outside. So we're glad we could help with that. And the committee that raised money for our Warm Coats project had some money left over after they met all of the requests from the schools. And so that money will be going to help with the Boots project. So that's a total of $2,000 that we've given to them. In addition, we have some members who have some connections with other organizations nationally, and we're hoping that maybe by next year we can expand the Boots program as well. So something to look forward to. Thank you very much, Nancy.
Thank you, Mary.
Time to meet our student Rotarians. I know we have one because she sat at our table, and I don't see if Jackie is here. Oh, we may have more than one here. Theron, you want to do the honors? Thank you.
So if the student Rotarians would please come forward. So again, we have two wonderful examples of the high quality students that we have at Marshtown High School. And so we'll ask that they introduce themselves, tell a little bit about, introduce yourselves, your family, your parents, what activities you're involved in at school, and any future aspirations that you have beyond high school.
Hi, my name is Bryn Van Buren. My parents are Steve and Heather Van Buren, and my brother is Will Van Buren, and I'm a junior at MHS. I participate in golf and student senate, and I'm currently undecided on my plans for after high school, but I want to attend a four-year university.
Hi, I'm Catherine Flores, and I'm a senior at MHS. My parents are Brian and Kelsey DeMoss. I am involved in track and cross country, NHS, and student senate. After I graduate, I am planning to attend the University of Iowa to either go into nursing or become a physician's assistant.
Thank you and welcome. It's great to have you here. We have a new member to induct today. So Jim Goodman and Andrina Helgerson, will you please come forward?
Hello, Andrina. You know, when I get up here to think about doing this, I remember back to when Bill Tank used to do it. He was the model of giving the charge. Not that anybody else doesn't do a good job, but he was the man. Andrina, we're proud to bring you into our club. I need to tell you a little bit about the Rotary Club, and I'll start with telling you some about Rotary worldwide. Rotary was founded in 1905 by a lawyer, Paul Harris, in Chicago in the Unity Building, February 23rd of 05 to be exact. It has grown to an organization today that has 1.2 million people in it. It's in 35,000, or there's 35,000 clubs, and it's in over 200 countries. So it's a big organization. It was, geez, forgot to put my glasses on. Its stated purpose was to bring together business and professional leaders in order to provide humanitarian service and advance goodwill and peace in the world, which it does through a number of means. I'd give you the secret handshake now, but we don't have one. Rotary is not a cult. It's not a secret society. There's nothing secret about Rotary. There's been stuff that's put out that said it was like the Masons, that it was a secret society, but it's not. We are non-political and we are non-religious.
That doesn't mean that members don't hold political beliefs or have religious beliefs. It means that they don't get in between us and our association with each other in Rotary. So it has no stated political or religious belief. This club was number 185, and it was founded in 1915 in Marshalltown. It's referred to as the Rotary Club of Marshalltown, not the Marshalltown Rotary Club, as we've heard. That was quite a feat for Marshalltown to get this, being as small a town as it was. We had to petition, I think, a couple of times to get it done, but nonetheless, we're number 185, and we are the Rotary Club of Marshalltown. We have, quote unquote, done good both here in town and abroad. And you'll learn more about that as you're in the club. We've had a water project in South Sudan that we've participated in. We participated in a number of events that are worldwide, Polio Plus, and in town. You heard a little about the warm coats for winter and the boots. We've had food drives. We've had a program called Josh the Otter to impress upon grade school kids to be careful around water and how dangerous it is and not to swim in the river, in other words, that kind of stuff. You will enjoy here, I think, great fellowship, great meals, and great programs. Pardon me? Yeah. I'll give you this folder and I'll present you with this pin. I'm gonna let you pin it on yourself because I'm a little not dexterous. And here is your new member badge. It's red and you can wear that when you're at the meeting. And then there's a box outside here that you can place it in. I don't see that this is numbered. Is there a slot this goes? Okay. When you go to a fireside chat, you will be converted to a blue badge magically, and it'll have a number back here that's the slot that this goes in when you leave. Don't take it home like I usually do. But I'll present you with that. Always wear your pin proudly. Let people know that you're a member of Rotary so that they may say, well, what is Rotary all about? And, you know, there are a lot of famous people that have belonged to Rotary. I mean, Thomas Edison, John Kennedy, Luciana Pavarotti, a lot of people worldwide, even in this community. I mean, people like me, Joel Greer, who else is famous here? But we've got a lot of really good people here. We, not in an arrogant way, but really believe that we are the best service club and that you made the right choice joining this. So now, welcome to our club, and would you all stand and let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. Welcome. Okay.
Thank you and welcome, Andrina. We look forward to getting to know you better. We have a new event, I guess. I don't know what to call it. A new something that we're doing now. And Vic Helberg is going to come up and tell us about it.
The attendance committee has been meeting and trying to encourage attendance after COVID and the fact that we're a lot less of us than we used to be, and some of us are doing it online. But the group that's here, I'm speaking to the choir, and I want you to go out and spread it to the word to the other Rotarians that are not here today. We are going to start a program quarterly giving recognition to those that have achieved perfect attendance during that quarter. So I'm here today to talk about those 13 people that have achieved that level. We are also announcing that we are going to be moving to have our makeup meetings at Wayward Social on Friday afternoons at 4:30 to 5:30. That's going to be a little different than before in that we will not be taking attendance or having you fill out anything. You are going to rely on the Rotarians themselves to email Kim and let her know that you have attended and did a makeup. There is also an opportunity that maybe not everybody knows about, and that is that if you are a blood donor and you give a donation of a pint of blood at the blood center, that will count as Rotary, and it has for many years. We started that a long time ago, I think when Gene Beach was president. He and I worked on a 2-person committee to get that started. So if you are a blood donor, you can get credit for attendance at doing that. So I would like to have those that are here today, that I'll read your name, that have achieved perfect attendance for the first quarter. We've got a little treat for you. Amanda Acola, Mary Giese, Rick Anderson, Jim Goodman, please come up if your name is read. Conrad DeJarden, Conrad is online, I saw him there. Linda Helveka, Carol Hibbs, Kim, Laura Lassick, Sue Martin, Tom McCoy, and Robert Thomas. Those that are at the Zoom meeting, we will get this treat for you, but today we're going to each get a little piece of Lily May. Since we're missing desserts of late, this will be a nice treat.
Thank you very much to Vic and Linda Havelka for thinking through all of these details for this program. And they're going to definitely make it worth your while to come. So be sure you do your makeups and let Kim know about it. I do have a few announcements. First of all, thank you to Mark Osmondson, who was willing to be here early and is willing to stay a little afterwards also to get your photo for our website. So if you have not had that done, please be sure and stop in and take care of that. Our meeting last week, October 13th, we had a total of 28 people in attendance, 18 in person and 10 on Zoom. Kim announced that on October 24th, which I believe is Saturday this week, it is World Polio Day. And since we're so involved in polio eradication as Rotarians, I just wanted to call your attention to an article in the November issue of the Rotarian. So if you keep them around and you can find this issue, I really encourage you to look it up, because in the back, it has a section called "The Price of Polio. Meet 5 Rotarians who understand the disease's long-term consequences." And so then there's a page about each one of those, and it tells their polio story. And it's very eye-opening. And the paragraph from the opening that I would like to share with you, it says, "We've come very far in the 64 years since the introduction of Jonas Salk's vaccine, and especially in the 40 years since Rotary decided to take on polio. Every day, it gets easier to forget why it's so critical that we eradicate this disease. Most of us don't see polio in our daily lives. Whole generations have never experienced its terrifying power. We let our guard down when we think that polio is a disease that happens only in faraway places, or that is almost eradicated is good enough. But if we stop and remember what it was like when polio was everywhere and people felt powerless against it, we know that if we don't finish the fight, we'll soon be back where we started." So I encourage you, find your magazine, read it, or borrow mine. I'm happy to share it with you. And a reminder that our club does contribute to the Polio Plus campaign, and we encourage individuals to do so also. So you might keep that in mind. Nominating committee, a reminder that we need to meet again shortly after our meeting tonight. And I wanted to, let's see, to let those of you who are new, we're asking you to do a vocational talk as a part of getting that red badge turned to blue. And I have the sign up sheet with me. So if you're looking for a time, come stop up and see me. We are now ready for happy news. And I wanted to start out with a shout out to Jackie Wyant. I'm sorry she's not here. This is October is National Principals Month, and we're proud to have Jackie as a Rotarian. And we appreciate the good work that the other principals and district personnel do in our district there. Is there other happy news for anyone? Todd, we're ready for news.
Afternoon, everybody. The Marshalltown Community School District middle and high school students will continue with virtual and hybrid learning throughout the remainder of the first semester. At the regular Monday meeting, the school board members approved the recommendations from Superintendent Theron Schutte. Excuse me. I'm joking. The soybean harvest is entering the backstretch while the corn harvest is getting closer to being completed. The USDA report shows just 10% of the soybeans remain to be harvested from the fields. That is more than 3 weeks ahead of last year and 2 weeks ahead of the 5-year average. The corn harvest hit 65% complete last week. That's more than 3 weeks ahead of last year and just more than 2 weeks ahead of the average. A snow squall hit central Iowa yesterday afternoon and created winter driving conditions on the roadways. Now, in case you don't know, a snow squall is a very intense rate of snow, possibly combined with strong winds up to 40 miles per hour or more. Now, in this case, it was mainly just really heavy snowfall. The National Weather Service offices in Johnston received 9 inches of snow yesterday. The snow squall was in central Iowa from Dallas into Jasper counties, but much of the rest of central Iowa did not receive much snowfall. The lawyer representing the several black former University of Iowa football players said he could go to court with their discrimination allegations. The attorney accused the university of being willing to pay known multi-millionaire racist coaches, but refuses to pay black victims of racism themselves. 8 players alleged discrimination during their time at the University of Iowa and call on the school to meet a list of demands, including $20 million and the firing of head coach Kirk Ferentz, Coach Brian Ferentz, and athletic director Gary Barda. Now, the university's general counsel offices issued a response saying it would not give in to the demands and that work had already begun to create a more welcoming environment for black athletes. Almost a quarter of registered Iowa voters have already cast their ballots in the 2020 general election. Numbers released by Secretary of State Paul Pate show 22% of active registered voters have returned their absentee ballots. State lawmakers allowed Pate to send absentee ballot request forms to all voters ahead of this year's election. More than 780,000 absentee ballots have been received by voters, and more than 450,000 have been returned. This Friday is the last day absentee ballots can be requested. County auditors in Iowa will be able to begin opening outer envelopes of the absentee ballots the Friday before the November 3rd election, causing less concern over any delay in election results. Finally, a young executive is leaving the office late one evening when he finds the CEO standing in front of a shredder with a piece of paper in his hand. "Listen," says the CEO, "this is very sensitive and important document. My secretary is gone for the night. Can you make this thing work for me?" "Sure," the young executive says. Turns the machine on, inserts the paper, and presses the start button. "Excellent, excellent," says the CEO as the paper disappears inside the machine. "I just need one copy of the document." See, it's a shredder.
Tom is going to introduce our program.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. My mother often said, if you don't have anything good to say about anybody, don't say anything. So I'm struggling. No, sincerely, Chief Tupper is the program today. We've asked Todd Steinkamp to interview him. There might be some time for questions, but don't know if we'll have that. But Todd is great in the community. He's very, very helpful. I've called him several times and I appreciate him. And I do like most of your jokes. And what can I say about Chief Tupper? He's become a friend, a good friend. I got to know him several years ago working on the Vest for the Best project and Shop with a Cop and some other things. And I really appreciate him. We may not always agree with him, and that's okay. But I really appreciate his involvement in the community and how deeply involved he gets. And so I can't think of a better thing to say about him than he just really loves Marshalltown and its people, and I think that's awesome. So with that, we're going to do an interview. I'm not sure how you're going to set this up. You're going to stand up here, but welcome these guys.
So we're going to try and socially distance as best we can here. So this all came up in September. We talked about just policing in this day and age with everything that has been going on. Now, I want to read something. I wrote it down specifically for this, just to make sure that we're very clear on this. It's either here or watching via Zoom. None of what we are talking about or saying is biased in any way. Okay, this is not meant to be political, divisive, anything of the sort. These are simply the facts from Marshalltown Police Chief Mike Tupper, someone that's been in law enforcement for how many years?
28.
28 years. So these are just his viewpoints on what we're talking about. So none of this is biased in any particular way. So we got that out of the way. And I promise that unlike another debate, I will not be stepping all over Chief Tupper. Is that okay with you?
That's
good.
okay.
I'm glad that's okay with you. Thanks, Kim. All right, so first thing I thought we'd do is just have Chief Tupper just kind of give a little bit of a background on his policing history, if you would, Chief.
Okay. First thing I need to say, Tom, is my wife doesn't always agree with me either, so that's okay. So she's very smart. She wouldn't have had anything nice to say if she got up here, so I'm glad you did the intros. So yeah, I've been a police officer in Iowa for 28 years. I'm getting ready to kick off year 29 here pretty soon. I've been a police chief in Iowa for 16 and a half, the last 9 here in Marshalltown. So Halloween is actually my work anniversary. So if you want to come down and wish me a happy anniversary, Almond Joy or Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are good. So yeah, the last 9 years as your police chief, this has easily been the best job that I've had. I've worked in 3 police departments. So I started out with the city of Ottumwa. I was there for about 12 years, and then I did something really silly. I thought being a police chief would be a good idea. And I took the job as police chief in Nevada, and I was there about 8 years. And so I've been here the last 9. It's been a great ride for me.
All right, now the softball questions are out of the way. Now we can begin. I want to talk about policing now. Obviously, you've got a lot to compare about with your years of law enforcement coming up to this point in your career. And one of those policing now instances is the George Floyd incident. I'm not looking for your opinion on how that situation was handled, unless Police Chief Tupper wants to talk about that specifically. My question is, to start things off, is it feels like things have dramatically changed. That was really an ignition point, if you will, for policing everywhere, really. So I'm just curious if you want to address the George Floyd incident, that's fine or not. But the point of the question is just, how have things changed for you and for your officers since that incident happened?
Well, first of all, with the George Floyd incident, I've already been fairly public about that. I thought it was handled inappropriately, and it was excessive force, in my opinion. I'm not certain that it was murder first degree for those officers, but they were wrong in how they handled that situation, in my professional opinion. And that did ignite a lot of discussion across our country about policing and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. It's been a weird year for all of us with COVID-19. And I remember in May when this first happened with George Floyd, Captain Chris Jones and I were talking about what happened and how everybody was all of a sudden upset, not just with the Minneapolis Police Department, but with police departments across this country. And Chris commented to me, weren't we heroes back in March? And we kind of were back in March when COVID started. And now all of a sudden we're zeros, and people are very upset with us. So we've seen some changes, I guess, in our local community in how people are approaching law enforcement. But by and large, things have been very good here. And we really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Marshalltown supports public safety. They support their police officers. And it's even with some of the discussions that we've had publicly with folks about police reform, it's been very positive. And they've been very helpful discussions. I will be the first to say that police reform is necessary in this country. I've been saying that for 20 years. Most police chiefs I know have been saying the same thing. We ask our police officers in this country to do too much. We ask our police officers in Marshalltown to do too much. And I think after many, many, many years of cutting services, cutting social services, cutting programs in our communities, and relying on the solution always being call 911, the cops will handle it. I think those poor political decisions are now coming back to haunt us. And law enforcement, being the most visible part of the criminal justice system, is bearing the brunt of people's anger and frustration. I always try to remind everybody that I don't make the rules, I don't write the laws, I don't set government policy. We just do what we're told. And it is fair to criticize law enforcement because there are some things that we can do better. But I think there's a lot of things that we can all do better as a community to make sure that public safety has the resources that they need to do their job, and then can provide the services the community expects when they call 911. And as I mentioned, I think we're asking our cops to do too much, and we need to fix that.
We saw after the incident with George Floyd, there's been other incidents too. There have been attacks on police officers, not specifically here, obviously, but in some major metropolitan areas. Did the officers that you oversee, that you work with, did they have concerns at that time? And if they did have concerns, what were they, and what have you done inside the department to help facilitate putting them at ease a little bit?
Yeah, our cops locally do have some concerns. And first of all, I think it's fairly obvious I wear a gun every day to work. What I do is dangerous. We already had a dangerous job. And it's a difficult job, a very challenging job. And I would say that since George Floyd, people that are inclined to resist arrest here in Marshalltown are more inclined than ever to resist arrest here in Marshalltown and be confrontational. So we've seen an uptick in the number of people that want to certainly be confrontational. But our officers have been in more physical jeopardy than ever because of some of the anti-law enforcement rhetoric that has been present all over the country, quite frankly. So I try to remind our officers that this isn't Minneapolis, this isn't Atlanta, this isn't Portland, this isn't Seattle. We're supported here. I try to remind everybody to maybe turn off CNN and Fox News once in a while and not get too caught up in what's happening nationally. But it's hard for our cops because they're on social media, they watch the news, they read the newspaper just like you all do, and it's hard for our cops not to feel all that negativity. So we're doing the best that we can to make sure that our cops know that they're supported. Training has always been important at the Marshalltown Police Department, and so we're ramping up some of the training that we're providing our troops. And the community actually locally has been very good about making sure that we know that we're supported, so we appreciate that. Right now, it's just hard to get away from the negativity though, and so I think some of our police officers are struggling with that.
And that actually leads into the next question, which is morale within, I'm assuming not just your department, but I'm guessing departments all over the all over the US. You know, we talk about, and I want to get to the UYSS program here, which I think is a very cool program in just a moment. But what about the officers? Who do they have if they want to talk to somebody? Do they have that outlet specifically here in Marshalltown?
Morale is always a complicated topic in law enforcement circles anyway, but personally, I think, you know, when it comes to morale, my own personal morale, I'm responsible for. Now my bosses can impact that to some degree, but I'm still responsible for it. But with everything that negative that's been going on in our country related to not just law enforcement and social justice reform, but COVID, it's been a rough year for everybody, right? So morale is a touchy subject in the police department right now. And a lot of our police officers, I think, would say their morale is low. For the first time, and I really love my job, by the way, but for the first time in my life, my career, I've had questions about how much longer I want to do this. It's been a bad year. And I never thought I'd say that. I thought Mayor Greer would have to pull me out of my office and take this badge from me. And I think there's a lot of cops across this country that are thinking, is there something better to do? And I hope we don't lose people because of that, because we need those people. You don't need me. I work with a bunch of cool people that are getting the job done. You'll be fine without me. But we need people that are willing to do this job. And I think a lot of people are looking for a way out right now, to be honest with you. What was the last part of that question? I got sidetracked.
Just talk about, do the officers have anybody to talk to?
Yeah. So the city has an employee assistance program. We implemented a peer support program in the Marshalltown Police Department about 5 years ago. We have a police chaplain program that's pretty helpful for our cops. Most cops don't like to talk about what they're feeling though, and what they're thinking, so it's a tough nut to crack sometimes. And so we continually provide as many resources as we can to our staff to make sure that they're healthy and well and can do the job professionally.
I was lucky enough in 2012, I think it was, to do the Citizens Police Academy, which for me was extremely eye-opening. If anyone has the opportunity to do that, I highly encourage you to do it. But some of the scenarios that we were put in, literally split-second decisions, and to see how you could possibly be treated as an officer. What are some of the misconceptions that people may have about police officers? And I know that's a kind of a broad stroke brush question, but you know, people see an officer walking down the street and they're either thankful for them or they may hurl some words at them. What are some misconceptions about officers that people might not understand?
I think the biggest thing that we always try, and the Citizens Academy is great for this, but what we always try to communicate with folks is that we're just like you. We're not some robot in a steel car driving up and down your street. We're just like you, trying to do a job. I have a mortgage. I have a family I'm trying to take care of. I have my own personal struggles, just like you. And we have our good days and we have our bad days. And so for our police officers, we hope they have more good days than bad days, but sometimes we make mistakes and we're human. And again, I think we hold our police officers to high standards, and we should. We should. I hold them to high standards. But we have to also remember that they're human just like you. They have frailties and they're going to make mistakes.
Almost kind of a law question. Maybe you do or don't know the answer to this, but we've seen a lot of videos surface of incidents where people were being arrested by police and people were calling police brutality, and those videos are released to news organizations and so on and so forth and posted online. Can people legally film those incidences? Because that seems to be a big part of it. Some officers will say, you know, stop filming. Others will say that your civic duty, the body cameras are a big thing now for the police. So can you address that just for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. You can film us, and please do, because we're filming you. We have cameras on everywhere now. I would like to see our politicians have to start wearing cameras, but they're not. But we're filming everything, and so I left my phone on the table. But a lot of times we'll show up somewhere, and immediately people are pulling out their phones, and I'm filming you. And our response is, well, I'm filming you. So now that we got that figured out, let's move on and take care of this problem. So you can film us. We just implemented a policy earlier this year, making sure that our officers understand that you can film us, that we shouldn't be trying to stop that. You have the right to do that. So I just took a quiz today on that policy, actually. So hopefully you won't see any viral videos of my cops grabbing your phones and stuff like that, because you can film us all you want. Now, what I would like to say about the videos that you often see on the internet, though, is that it's just a small part of the story, okay? And many times these viral videos, you don't see the 20 minutes before that 30-second video, or you don't see the 20 minutes after that 30-second video, and you can't see everything that the officer can perceive during the video going on around them, okay? So it's really easy for all of us to rush to judgment when we see a video that looks ugly. And by the way, anytime a police officer uses force, it's gonna look ugly. The use of force is always ugly. That doesn't mean it's not legal or justified. So try not to jump to conclusions when you see those videos out there.
You were on, in fact, you came on to with Kyle Martin on KFJB yesterday morning, and you were on the phone with him talking about the new program with YSS, and you sounded very excited. So if you could address that to everybody here and talk about this program that you've lined up.
So I mentioned to you that we're asking cops to do too much, and one of the things that came out of the George Floyd event and many other events this past year is that communities are having discussions about we need more social services. We need more social services in our community. I agree, we do. They have to be available to us 24/7 though. When you call the police department at 3 a.m. for a crisis because a family member's had a mental health crisis or the alcohol and drug issue or whatever, any kind of crisis, and you call 911, you want help, not the promise of a phone call tomorrow or a promise of a phone call on Monday, right? We need to have 24/7 services. So one of the things that I started thinking about after George Floyd is how can we make that a reality in Marshalltown? And I've been involved working with YSS in some capacity for 16 plus years now. And so I approached my friend David Hicks at YSS in Marshall County, and I started telling him what my vision was. And my original vision was to have an employee working for the Marshalltown Police Department as a social worker. The problem with that is it's just one person and they can't be available 24/7. But if we contract with an organization like YSS that provides a wide variety of social services, we can maybe provide those 24/7 crisis services in our community. And so that's what David and I started talking about. And we put together a little bit of a proposal. And usually when the police chief goes to the council to ask for money, you better have a plan in place. You better have your I's dotted, T's crossed, and all the questions answered. This was the first time in my career that I went to the city council and asked for a lot of money, $25,000. It's a lot of money for a program where there were more questions than answers. And it was kind of it was a proposal for a pilot project. And basically all I could say is we're going to try a few things. I don't know what's going to work. I don't know what's going to work, but we're going to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see if we can figure this out. And after about a 30-minute discussion, I requested $25,000. And I told the council that this is an opportunity. And I challenged them to seize the opportunity. Well, they did. They gave us $150,000. I could not believe it. That does not happen in city government. So now we're putting together a team made up of police department, YSS, and community members. And we're discussing how this project might work and how it might look. And we hope to kick it off in January. It's going to be a 12-month project. And we're going to experiment with a variety of avenues of delivering social services along with law enforcement services so that we can appropriately respond to crisis, hopefully divert people from the criminal justice system, reduce use of force, and reduce the amount of time that police officers are spending on calls that really have nothing to do with law enforcement.
I'm not watching here. How are we doing on time, Kim? This one right now. Real quick, I think we can talk about this for quite some time, but does anybody have any questions for Police Chief Tupper? Parking tickets you want to get rid of?
I just wondered, as a community, how can we help with police morale?
Okay, so the question was, how can we help with police morale? So I think anytime you see a police officer, if you just say hello, thank him or her for what they do, that's great. Sometimes people send cards, stuff like that. That's not necessary. But if you see us out and about, it's okay to come up and talk to us. Please do. We want to talk to you.
Back to blue signs.
Yep, the mayor's big on back to blue signs, so we're out of those right now, Mayor. I got to get some more made. But we sell back to blue signs. They're like yard signs. You can put in your yard for $10, and that money goes into our donation fund, and we use that for Citizens Academy, stuff like that.
Just a note, I think you're a bit modest about your comment about you're leaving and everything will be just fine. You've been a very great addition to Marshall.
Thank you.
I'm sure you had an opportunity to meet several times and moved down for a reason. It would be a big loss. It would be very, very difficult to find someone who performs as you did. Quick question. In the introduction, I think Tom mentioned shopping. How can we as individuals help with that?
Thank you. Thank you. So COVID got in the way. Our Fraternal Order of Police is a kind of a social group connected to the Marshalltown Police Department. COVID got in the way of their fundraising activities this year. And we would still like to have some form of shop with the cops. So we are trying to raise some money. The FOP announced a couple weeks ago that they're going to try to raise $10,000. I think we've raised about 20% of that. And that money will go to the community, right back into the community, to serve some families and kids in need to make sure that they have a Christmas this year. So if you're inclined to donate to that cause, give me a call, write a check to Marshalltown FOP, bring it down to the police department. We'll make sure it gets where it needs to go. And we're going to try to serve 30 some kids and families this year, as many as we can get with $10,000.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all that you do and your staff as well. Seeing Jim reminded me that we neglected to give you a chance to report on the ringing bells for Salvation Army. So you want to do that now, or you want to do it next week? We'll do it next week. Okay. Just the good news is it looks like we have plenty of folks to help. So that's great. Next week, our program will be given by our own Erin McGregor. She's going to give us a little information. And so I invite you now all to rise and recite the four-way test with me. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? We are now adjourned. Nominating committee, don't forget to stay. And if you want your picture taken, get with Mark.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
Good job,
Appreciate
good
it.
job.
No, good job to you. A lot of good answers.
Friday, 6:30. All right. Need a reservation.